For the past 20 years, there have been countless TV shows, documentaries, and YouTube channels dedicated to groups of researchers and scientists going out into the wilderness in search of Sasquatch. But we need to ask ourselves a serious question here. If we brought back legitimate evidence of in the nature of hair, DNA, audio, or even distinct footage, would the scientific community take it seriously? They're the ones we need to convince more so than the public if we're going to make headway in this subject. And the best thing that we have to show for tens of thousands of dollars in man hours and equipment rentals are seasons upon seasons of reality television. But quickly, if you're finding yourself liking the discussion we have today, give us a like and a subscribe. We're looking to build a community here that is serious about expanding the network of people keeping their ears on the ground for Bigfoot evidence. I'm Jaster, founder of the Southeast Bigfoot Research Organization, and tonight, let's have a serious discussion on how we can improve our outings to look for Bigfoot evidence. First, in order to get a grasp on what we're talking about, we need to quantify what a Bigfoot expedition is in the modern sense, and how that does and does not correlate to how modern scientific experts that would be looking for Bigfoot evidence, if they were so inclined to do so, would do it. We're building this part of our argument off of primatology and wildlife ecology research, and with a focus on collecting tangible evidence of an unknown primate or hominid species that has gone undiscovered by science. Now, if you were to boot up a random episode of your favorite Bigfoot TV show, YouTube channel, or documentary on Netflix, what you'll see is the vast majority of the time, they're a small team of maybe 6 people, usually less than that, accompanied by a camera and production crew that dwarfs them by comparison. And if you're lucky, they'll have some audio equipment. If they're a really big thing, they'll have that thing with the listening device, the little satellite dish on it. They'll have some night vision recording equipment. And they'll have about a week or so to go out and survey what is usually tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of acres of wilderness. Now, can you see why there's a lot of TV shows out there with, let's just say, questionable scenes within them?
Guys, what is that? Please? What is that? I'm just gonna move a little bit away from it and come back to it. There it is. It's right on the water's edge. And the signature is getting bigger.
Looky here. You know what this is? What? This is a hillbilly slide.
There's a reason why there aren't a lot of TV shows out there about the lives of wildlife biologists that document their lives as they research great apes. Now, I would watch that, but the footage would not be that inspiring or interesting to a wide audience. And they have ratings to deal with, right? So that puts a big nail in the coffin to start with, but there's a lot more to dig into here. Now, let's go back to the acreage comment I made. Suspected roaming ranges for Sasquatch cover an absolutely outrageous part of the mainland United States, and it's not feasible to ask people who are interested in the topic to go hop in their car, go out on their 1 week of vacation that they might get a year, spend it deep in the wilderness with a camera, and roleplay Survivor Man, okay? Let's be fair. But when we talk about going out and looking for Bigfoot evidence and gathering more evidence, that's the solution we always come up with, right? So how can we expect maybe a dozen different teams that go out and produce these shows to go to the right place at the right time and do everything right in order to get something? Even if they're the best we have, the luck alone in having something with such a small population and large range to be in the area at the time they're recording is hard to ask for anyone with any reasonable knowledge of statistics here. It's not easy. And we're asking a whole lot of people, and there's not exactly a whole lot of money that goes into Bigfoot Expeditions unless it's a TV show. So that's another big issue. If there was a better way of getting more ways of getting evidence into the field more consistently, I have a feeling that we would have a lot more evidence to deal with here. Now, let's talk about how there seems to be a huge debate in the community with how to approach the area where a Bigfoot resides. A lot of the time, the idea is to make your presence known by either wood knocking or making some sort of blast call into the wilderness to let them know you're out there. Now, let's be frank real quick. That's not how a primatologist would handle the situation, okay? And you don't have to believe me here. Let's take a look at Jane Goodall, all right? This woman showed up in Africa to research chimpanzees without a manual, and then she proceeded to write it, okay? Instead of going in there and making a bunch of noise to grab their attention, she would sit right outside their comfort zone for a very long time, slowly working into the group's trust by gifting and interacting positively with individuals in the group if they ever got curious enough about her to risk an interaction. Now, was that done over 7 days? A month? 6 months? No, this took a year, alright? And there were reports of certain groups of great apes taking as long as a decade to get used to human interaction, okay? There are parts of the Congolese jungles where civil wars have raged for years and years, where chimpanzee populations and other great apes, like I believe bonobos, would just straight up not be around humans. Anytime they heard human activity, they were gone. A lot of these now operate nocturnally in order to avoid human interaction, okay? Now, that poses increased problems for research groups, alright? And that's the monkeys we know about, right? We're wanting to talk about one that we're trying to go out and discover. That poses even more issues. We have feelings that these things are nocturnal in nature, or potentially nocturnal. We know that they have large roaming ranges. There's more than likely not a lot of them in a group, and they are hard to spot because they don't like to be around humans if they can't help it. Now, that correlates a lot with great apes in the wild that have had issues with humans in the past. That's not speculation, that's science, okay? So, how are we going to expect people that are going on these Bigfoot expeditions 1 or 2 times out of the year going to the same area to build a relationship in any way with a suspected primate population in order to get contact? That's a hard one. And then let's not even start going into the fact that if you do have a researcher that is trying the habituation technique, they usually get ridiculed. They're like, oh, of course you would get evidence. You've been in there looking for Bigfoot for 5 to 7 years. Of course you'd find something after a while. You probably just got bored and hoaxed it. Well, not necessarily. The science proves that if you're trying to make contact with a group of great apes, this can take a very long time. They have to know who you are. They have to trust who you are, and they have to know that you don't have negative intentions for them, right? And that's for established scientific groups of great apes. That's what we know right now. So the whole idea of this isn't for me to get on my soapbox and preach about how people's favorite TV shows are not going to be sitting here getting any evidence whatsoever, because sometimes they do get something that is kind of interesting, right? I mean, honestly, I've got a couple of places that I like to go to whenever it comes to listening to something on the way to work or something like that. It usually has to do with an expedition, right? The whole idea of this is in order to take the information that we know of by professionals and then refine our own techniques in order to match how they do it in the field, because I have a distinct feeling that we would be able to get more and more and more evidence. Alright? Now, let's add in the sneaking suspicion here that we as Bigfoot believers have, that these things actively avoid humans unless curiosity wins out or they get caught unawares, and you can see this issue again piling up. We're not out there long enough. There aren't enough people to cover enough ground. Instead of trying to gain their trust by habituating their areas and letting them know we're not a problem, instead we're going out, blasting calls in their backyard, beating on trees. And we're not entirely sure what these actions mean to a suspected Bigfoot population. We just know that they do these things, right? For all we know, we're screaming profanities at the top of our lungs, and then the reaction that they give us is essentially them coming out to check on us and trying to figure out if these new guys that are in the neighborhood are going to be a problem or not. Am I making sense here? It's not my intention to tell us that we're all doing this wrong and that, oh, shame on us. I'm trying to help us start a discussion about refining our own techniques, alright? So, how can we fix this? How can we start to refine the discussion? And right now, I'm thinking about cost-effective ways for the most amount of people to be able to do the most amount of research. We've talked about this before, but audio listening devices are a foundational part of grade ape research. And whether or not you believe Bigfoot is an ape, a hominid, or anything else, installing a listening device on your property, now mind, you can even get the ones that are meant to record birds, okay? So that way you don't have to explain the Amazon purchase to your significant partner later, you know? But these things can expand the research area for Bigfoot by miles. And when you take the cost of a listening device and compare that to how far they can listen and pick up audio, it's one of the cheapest ways to expand Bigfoot research. The only real downside to this is that if you record something right on the edge of the device's capabilities, it's hard to accurately judge what you're listening to, okay? Now, simply put, having a bigger listening network for Bigfoot evidence can help bring in information that can make expeditions more valuable. Now, what do I mean by that? It's important to document when these audio events happen. You can get a lot of information off of this. Not only what time of day it happened, weather conditions, what other wildlife is in the area, but then we can take that information and develop further data, okay? Like how potential food sources move through the area. Do potential Bigfoot audio happen during certain times of the year? How far away from the device are these recordings occurring? All of these factors can help narrow down places, times, and reasons for an expedition to be in the area and take a more focused look at a potential Bigfoot hotspot for more evidence. The biggest thing at the end of the day is that we come forward and share ideas about how to improve our capabilities as Bigfoot researchers, okay? Until more members of the scientific community take this phenomenon seriously, it's up to us to determine what to do when we go into the field. I just think that it's important to model our research doctrines off of those that have been proven to work. The hard part is that to do that is either going to take man hours and time, or a network of devices and money to get a better dragnet for Bigfoot evidence into the wild. Now, what did you think of today's video? Did you have any suggestions on how to make this practice more effective? Do you just want to discuss the topic? Go ahead and join the comments down below. This has been Jaster from the Southeast Bigfoot Research Organization, and you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.